Hi, this is Kathie from Craft with Kathie. Thanks for joining me this evening. I have a quick little project that I'm going to be doing on this Bistro Board. Our Bistro Board spins. It's double-sided chalkboard. And as you can see, I've already done something on one side. I'm going to add something to the other side. So I'm just going to unscrew this from the frame. Move my frame out of the way and get started with this. I actually have a little bit of chalk paste that I'm just rubbing off with here. It was dried. On the other side, I want to make sure that I'm doing it the same way. And I'm going to put this transfer called Trust the Timing of Your Life on the other side of my Bistro Board. Okay, let's get going. Drop me a line, let me know where you're viewing from. So I think this is a very interesting little transfer, Trust the Timing of Your Life. And I realize it's so easy sometimes to be in a hurry with what we want. I'm sorry, I've got chalky fingers already. I was just stirring up all my pastes and whatever. Sometimes in such a hurry to achieve our goals, that we're kind of anxious, and we really need to learn how to basically enjoy the ride, the process of getting there. So trust the timing of your life. Don't be in such a hurry. It'll come. As long as you're doing all the right things and you're on the right track, you'll get there. Enjoy the process. So I just thought this was kind of a nice little reminder, because actually I've been kind of anxious for some things, and I was like, I saw this and I was like, you know what? I need it. I need that gentle little reminder to just relax and let things go as they're going to go. As long as you're doing the right things and you're on track, don't sweat it. Relax. So I'm going to take this out of its little envelope. All of our transfers come in a little cellophane envelope. Our transfers are reusable, so when I'm done with this and I've cleaned it, I will put it back in its little cellophane envelope. I hang my transfers in, actually in an armoire, and that's what works for me. And whereas I used to get these fancy little hangers for them, like this, now I find that if I just use wire coat hangers or wire clothes hangers, it works actually better, and it doesn't cost me anything. Hello. So that's what I do now. So I'm going to be putting this on chalkboard, and before I actually apply it to my surface, my chalkboard, which is reusable, I could spritz this with water and use a paper towel and remove the image. But for tonight, I'm just going to put it on the opposite side. And our chalk paste goes on liquid, but see, it dries hard. So unless I actually hit it with some water and then kind of scrub at it, I'm not going to remove it. But I do advise just dry dusting your surfaces. So before I get started, I'm going to do what's called fuzzing our transfer. And I'm going to use one of our fuzzing cloths. Our fuzzing cloths have two different sides. One side is like a microfiber, which is good for cleaning chalkboard and whatever. And the other side is more like a terry or a cotton. And that's where we actually fuzz our transfer. And what fuzzing is, because our transfers are actually adhesive backed, sticky adhesive backed, okay, I want to deliberately diminish the stickiness of it so that it's not quite as sticky as it is originally. And the reason I do that is so that when I apply it to my surface, whatever it may be, I don't want it to stick so snugly that when I go to remove it, that I actually stretch and distort it. So this is fuzzing. I apply it to my fuzzing cloth, and I lift it up, and it picks up a little bit of the fibers, a little bit of the lint, and then I do it again. I don't press it down hard or anything. I always pick up from the top, bottom, left or right, never the corners, because I don't want to stretch it, because our transfers are made out of vinyl and silkscreen, so think of them as fabric, and if you pull fabric on the bias, you might very well stretch it. So I always go top, bottom, left or right. So now I've applied some lint deliberately to the back of this, which has lessened or diminished the stickiness so that it doesn't stick quite as snugly. Now, depending upon your surface, you might fuzz it more or less. Or like I said, our transfers are reusable. So when I'm done using this, I will actually clean it and remove that fuzz off of the back, and that will renew its stickiness for the next use. Our transfers are reusable 8 to 12 times or more. So it's no mystery there, it's easy to do. And fuzzing only takes not even a minute. Now, depending upon what surface you want, you're putting your transfer on, you might fuzz more or less. On chalkboard, I generally fuzz 3 or 4 times, depending upon if it really stuck really strong to my fingers, maybe 5 times. If I'm putting it on wood, pretty much the same thing. But if I'm putting it on glass or mirror or metal, I might fuzz it 8 times. I really want to diminish the stickiness whenever I'm applying it to something that is extraordinarily smooth. Our Aiden, our premium chalkboards are very smooth. They're very high quality chalkboards. They're beautiful, white frame distressed, but they're very, very smooth. So I will fuzz it a little bit more, maybe 5 times when I'm putting it on our Aiden board, because it's so smooth. When you apply it to a very smooth surface, it sticks more strongly, and you never want to run the risk of it sticking so strongly that you have a difficult time lifting it. I did that once around Christmas when I first was introduced to chalk, and I was applying a Santa transfer to my back door window. And it took me a while to do the project because it was, of course, multiple colors and whatever. I'm applying some Ocean Mist chalk paste to my transfer. I actually had thinned this down. It might be a little bit too thin. I might be jumping the gun here. If you thin down your paste and you have too much, it's too thin, just wait, leave the cover off. It'll dry up. It'll thicken up a little bit. Just give it a few minutes. I think this should be fine. I'm going to do the paste and peel, though, technique here so that I could take my time when it gets to the flower. So I did my pasting, applied it to my transfer, pushed it through the silk screen. I'm going to lift it up, take a little look at that. It looks so very nice, doesn't it? What beautiful clarity of those letters. And I'm just going to leave it up for a second, and then I'm going to lay it back down. So let me clean my squeegee and some other things, get this capped up so I don't dry it out again. Again, this was Ocean Mist. And then I think I'm going to use our Olive Shimmer and our Sunset Drive for the stems and the flowers, and maybe Raspberry Sorbet. I don't know. It might be a little bit too much, or maybe not. So anyway, paste and peel is where you deliberately lift up the transfer so that the paste does not dry within the silk screen of the transfer. I've got a little bit of chalk here actually on the border. I could hit that with a wet paper towel, and a little bit in here probably from handling it before. I'm going to just lay this back down. I'm not going to press it down, just kind of like flop it back down so that it's not drying in the silk screen, but now it'll give me time to work on my flowers and my stems. So instead of being in a hurry, I could take my time. Ooh, this looks a little thick. I didn't check my olive, wouldn't you know? And my spritzer's on the fritz, so let me just pour a little bit of water in here. This is distilled water. I'm going to thin it down a teeny bit. And you always want to use distilled water because you don't want any minerals in your tap water interfering with your paste and the pigments, the pigmentation of your paste. Normally, I'm doing this backwards. Normally, this is my multi-tool. Normally, I would use the hook side to get underneath the rim of my jar of paste and mix that up really good. So we'll just give this a little bit of stir, loosen it up because it was a little thick, and that happens when you leave the cover off too long. Sometimes I forget my cover off. I'll go clean in my transfer and then realize that I've left everything uncovered and it's been drying out a little bit. So it's easy enough to reconstitute your paste. Just add a little bit of distilled water. And like I said, if it gets too thin, then leave the cover off. It'll thicken up. No big problem with that. Easy enough to handle. So grab a little paste, and I'm going to do my stems here and my leaves. Probably should actually be using my detail tool here. It's a little bit close. We'll see how this grows. If I make a mistake, what's the nice thing about chalking, all I have to do is come in here, lift it up, clean it off with a little bit of water, and do it again. No real harm, no foul. The multi-tool has one end that's a little hook that's great for cleaning or getting the paste in your jar, mixing it up, and the other side is like a smaller squeegee. And this is a little, I'm kind of in a tiny spot here. I really should have my detail tool out here. It has an even smaller little squeegee on the end. How do you like that? But I think I've got it in my case, or oops, wait a second. See if I can grab it here. Oh yeah, no, that's all dirty, so I need to clean that up. I have to wait a little bit. I'll just work with this and see how it goes. Hope everybody's keeping warm. I don't even know if we're headed for snow or not. I know Wisconsin's gotten quite a bit so far. I'm not really looking forward to it. We had a little sprinkle the other day, but it wasn't bad, and that's fine, you know. Not enough to really do much, just minimal shoveling. It was, like I said, a little bit more than a sprinkle, I think about an inch or so. So it wasn't bad. Okay, this is a little tight. Like I said, the detail tool works fine. If you don't have a detail tool or a multi-tool, you could actually use one of your mini squeegees and just cut it into smaller strips and use that to do your chalking. But the detail tool is really kind of nice. And cover that up. Clean this end up. And we'll get on to the flowers. This is such a pretty color, the Sunset Drive. It is so warm and, I don't know, warm and cheery is what I think. I want to be careful that I don't go into my wording with my ocean mist there. A lot of times our wording is distressed, so that if you do make a mistake, a little oopsie here or there, you don't really notice it because it's distressed, and that's deliberate, just to make it a little bit easier for you to do your projects. And I like to hold my surface down, especially on something smaller like this, so that it doesn't slide while I'm applying my paste. But see, it's taken me a while longer to do my flowers and my stems and my leaves, so that's why I did the paste and peel. Applied the paste, peeled it up, and then just let it drop back down, so that it's not drying in my silk screen. If it dries in your silk screen, you run the risk of when you lift the transfer back up that you pull the paste up with it. And if that happens, just clean it up, spritz it, clean it, and just reapply it. Clean your transfer, and then come back in and paste it again. So it's really no problem. Now, if you're working on wood, it's a little bit different because sometimes the wood will pick up the pigment of your paste. And if that happens, all is not lost either. The worst thing that could happen is try removing it with water. And if it doesn't all come off, just paint the surface again and try again. So you can see why I love chalking. It's so easy to fix any oopses and mistakes. And it really is so quick, isn't it? I mean, look at, we're going to have this little sign done. This is about 5 by 7 or so, but in just a few minutes. How cool is that? We do have larger transfers. Our largest is 18 by 24 inches. Kind of like if you think about porch signs, we usually split that down the middle and stack them so they're 48 inches long. Okay, let's see. Oops, I'm making a mess, aren't I? Good thing it's water soluble and cleanup's easy. I'm gonna lift the transfer from the bottom. Okay, I've got a couple little issues. I need more green here on this bottom leaf, and I missed one of the little petals on this flower. So I'm going to come back over here and hit that petal again. I think I've got all that. And then I want to clean my multi-tool and go back in there and grab a little bit of olive shimmer and catch that leaf. Like I said, it's simple and easy to fix your mistakes. Okay, let's take a look at this again. The edge of my detail tool is great for lifting up a transfer when you can't get your fingers quite underneath it. There we go. Trust the timing of your life. Isn't that a cheery little reminder to take a deep breath, breathe, relax, and just let things fall into place like they're meant to? Now I'm going to just go clean my transfer. I'm going to run it into the sink and run it under water. I'll use a little board eraser to clean it. Let me show you one of my board erasers. Sometimes I cut them in half. They're round, but this with a little water or my fingers scrubbing at the transfer will get all the paste off of it. And then when I'm all done, I'll use my I'll use a disinfecting wipe to actually remove the lint that I deliberately applied to the back and clean it up so it renews the adhesiveness and the stickiness has returned. Thank you for watching this evening. I surely do appreciate it. Have a good night. I'll see you soon. I'm going to let this dry, by the way, about 5 to 8 minutes, and then put it back in my Bistro Board spinner. See you later.